And we begin with a record-breaking fine for the biggest bank in the US, don't we, Matthew?
We are. We're talking about JP Morgan Chase. It's come to an agreement with the US government, $13 billion it will pay. Now, this is all over the allegations that it missold mortgage securities. And what we mean by that are the products that bundled up mortgages and then sold them on to investors. But it was their low quality that then played a big part in the collapse in confidence that led to the financial crisis. Well, let's listen to the New York State Attorney General.
Today, I am proud to join our partners in an unprecedented state and federal partnership in announcing a landmark settlement with JP Morgan Chase for misconduct that contributed to the global financial crisis that brought our economy to its knees.
Let's have a look at the markets then, how they are playing out at the moment.
Asian markets, a bit of caution there. Now, that's probably ahead of things like the Federal Reserve minutes, the latest meeting there. That will give investors rather a clue as to what they're thinking there at the Fed. You can see a mixed picture. The Nikkei is down, closed about 1/3% off. Now, investors there have been assessing the latest figures on the trade balance in Japan. The country's deficit almost doubling there in October. You can see it's over 1 trillion yen or $10.9 billion. And what's really causing that is bigger growth in imports than exports, so giving that a negative figure. Now, the reason for the import growth is that Japan's having to import all of this natural oil and natural gas and oil because it's shut off most of its nuclear capability, and that's costing a lot for its accounts, as you can see.
Now let's move to London. Rising property prices continuing to force some countries to think again, really, about where they put their embassies.
For example, the United States, they're moving their embassy from the prestigious Grosvenor Square area in the pricey Mayfair district to somewhere a bit cheaper south of the river. Well, other countries are also considering moving out of the traditional areas where embassies are. Well, Delano D'Souza has more.
With more than 150 embassies and high commissions, London is one of the world's major diplomatic hubs. Foreign envoys have remained clustered around high-end neighbourhoods such as Knightsbridge and Mayfair. But now increasing numbers are looking to relocate to more spacious and cheaper parts of town.
Our data has identified that there's about 20 embassies who either sold or are considering moving out. And this is because they're sitting in old-fashioned buildings which aren't really what modern office days requirements can give.
Dozens of embassies and diplomatic buildings have either been converted or are expected to come up for sale in the next few years. Among them, the missions of Greece, Nepal, and most notably, the United States. After more than 50 years in Mayfair, the Americans are building a futuristic cube-shaped embassy in Nine Elms, an area under development south of the River Thames. Their diplomatic neighbours will include the Netherlands and possibly China.
The fact that this is going to be an area that's closer to where a number of people live, some of our staff will find it more convenient as far as their daily commutes.
The embassy creep is being sped up by the soaring value in central London property prices. In Mayfair, buildings are worth 30% more as homes than they are as offices. As London has become a magnet for the global wealthy, foreign governments have realised they could be sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, some very smart-looking streets there. Now, 2 months ago, Samsung launching a smart watch, you'll remember, but there does seem to be a little bit of confusion over how well it's selling.
Well, this all started after a website in South Korea, Samsung's home market. It's called Business Korea, this website, said that only 50,000 of these smartwatches, there you can see it's the Galaxy Gear, had sold. Well, Samsung hit right back with a figure of 800,000. But another publication, the Wall Street Journal, did a bit more digging and found out that, in fact, the 800,000 refers to shipments to shops and retailers, not necessarily watches that have been sold. So it's just raising the question whether this big new innovation is something that consumers are really ready for yet and whether they're keen to buy. It'll be interesting to see how this market develops.
It's silly to me, I have to say. A bit
Stuart's
daft.
not a buyer.
Not a buyer, no. Matthew, thanks a lot. Matthew with the business on France 24. Coming up, Venice from the comfort of your own home. Web news, though, today, starting with Google and Microsoft joining forces, in fact, to combat child pornography.
Google and Microsoft, with the backing of the British government, have joined forces to develop new software to prevent links to child sex abuse material from appearing in their respective search engines. Over 100,000 terms are now blocked, and any searches featuring these keywords will display purged results along with a warning, the opportunity to report any illegal content, and a link to charities pointing towards help. In an interview with British newspaper The Daily Mail, Google's executive chairman Eric Schmidt explains how the system will work. He says the restrictions will initially only apply to English-speaking countries, but will soon be rolled out in more than 150 languages. Mr. Schmidt also revealed that they'd developed technology that would tag illegal images and videos so that all duplicate copies could be quickly detected and removed from the internet. The measures have been met with criticism, however, from experts like Jim Gamble, who says sexual predators rarely use traditional search engines to find this type of content. In a piece published on ITV.com, the former chief executive of the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre says it would be wiser to find funding to hire experts tasked with tracking and identifying online paedophiles.
One is grooming, the act of befriending children in
Residential neighbourhoods in ruins. Homes barely standing or completely wiped out. Roads strewn with all manner of debris and trees uprooted. These amateur images testify to the violence of the deadly tornadoes that hit the US state of Illinois on Sunday. People have been sharing accounts of the storm system of twisters, high winds and hailstorms on the web, and social networkers are doing what they can to help the many victims. Indeed, American web users have been pledging support for those who have lost everything to the tornadoes, posting under the hashtags Pray for Illinois or Pray for Washington, one of the hardest hit communities. Netizens are also urging their fellow Americans to help by donating money or food to relief organisations. And humanitarian organisations on the ground are also making use of the web. The American Red Cross, for example, has been busy on Twitter, indicating the various emergency shelters set up across the region. The information's also shown on this interactive map, available on the NGO's website. And their Safe and Well platform is also up and running to provide comfort and information for people concerned for loved ones or those affected by the disaster wanting to reassure their friends and family. American social networkers campaigned under the JT Meet Ashley hashtag to convince Justin Timberlake to meet 20-year-old Ashley Hunt, who's been battling a rare bone cancer for over a year now and who's a huge fan of the singer. The campaigning paid off because she got to meet JT in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday, where he was giving a concert. A dream come true for Ashley, who says she's now more determined than ever to beat the disease. With Google Street View, you can now visit Venice, Italy, from the comfort of your own home. Launched last week, the web giant's mapping service has put together a virtual tour of the streets, piazzas and famous canals of Venice, meaning if they haven't already, web users from across the globe can discover one of the most beautiful cities in the world. This video features professional rally driver Ken Block from the US demonstrating a discipline that's very popular right now in the world of extreme and mechanical sports, Gymkhana, a mix of driving and drifting, a technique where the driver intentionally oversteers. And as we can see here, it involves manoeuvring and sliding around all sorts of obstacles in a closed-off course. You can check out this adrenaline-packed clip in its entirety on all good video sharing platforms.
Very impressive stuff. Not recommended, though, if you want to keep your tyres for more than a week, apparently. That's web news on France 24. Coming up for you next, in Asia Live later in the next half hour, we're going to be in Afghanistan talking to those at the country's General Assembly as they discuss if the US can keep troops in the country. That's all coming up in the next half hour here on France 24, so don't go away.